For over 4 decades, Pentagon war planners have wrestled with a single, terrifying scenario: a full-scale, boots-on-the-ground invasion of the Islamic Republic of Iran. But behind closed doors, almost every simulation and classified wargame ends in a logistical catastrophe. Surrounded by impenetrable mountain walls and vast, scorching deserts that swallow entire armies, Iran is not just a nation, it is an unconquerable natural fortress, and attacking it by land is military suicide. The kill chain. Today, we enter the ultimate geopolitical chessboard, the simmering Cold War between the United States and Iran. To understand why a global superpower hesitates to launch a direct strike against a nation with a fraction of its defense budget, we must look beyond the political rhetoric and examine the raw, unforgiving topography of the Middle East. In conventional military terms, the mismatch between these two adversaries is absolutely staggering. The United States fields a defense budget exceeding $800 billion, boasting the world's most advanced stealth fighters and heavily armored divisions. Iran, by contrast, operates on a fraction of that cost, its conventional forces heavily sanctioned and isolated from modern supply chains. Yet this nation of nearly 90 million people holds the entire region in a constant state of high-wire tension. Recent 2024 declassified military assessments reveal that while their conventional air force ages, their strategic deterrence has only grown deadlier. How does a technologically outmatched military project such immense, paralyzing power across the globe? The answer lies in a bitter, bloody lesson learned during the trench warfare of the 1980s. During the brutal 8-year Iran-Iraq War, Tehran realized a fundamental, inescapable truth. They could never win a symmetrical, force-on-force war against a fully mechanized, heavily armed adversary. So, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps completely rewrote their military doctrine from the ground up. They transformed their greatest vulnerability, their lack of modern armor, into a chilling asymmetrical strategy. And the absolute foundation of this defensive strategy is the very earth they stand on. Look to the western border, where any hypothetical ground invasion from Iraq or Turkey must begin. Here stand the Zagros Mountains, a jagged, rocky wall stretching for nearly 1,000 miles across the frontier. This is not the open, flat desert of Iraq, where American Abrams tanks sprinted unopposed during Operation Desert Storm. The Zagros are a treacherous labyrinth of narrow, winding passes and sheer, vertical cliffs. A mechanized division entering these valleys would be instantly stripped of its mobility, forced into a single-file column. It is the perfect, geographically engineered kill zone, a modern-day Thermopylae waiting to be triggered. From hidden, subterranean cave networks, Iranian anti-tank guided missile squads can rain destruction down on paralyzed armored convoys. And if an invading American or Allied force somehow punches through this impenetrable mountain shield, they do not find victory on the other side. They find the Dasht-i Kavir and the Dasht-i Lut, two of the most inhospitable salt deserts on the planet, where scorching heat and treacherous terrain turn any supply line into a logistical graveyard. The Dasht-i Kavir, known as the Great Salt Desert, is a deceptive and lethal trap for any mechanized force. Its surface appears as a solid, baked crust of salt, but beneath that thin veneer lies a bottomless mire of thick, briny mud. A 70-ton Moan Abrams tank, the pride of American armor, would instantly shatter this crust, sinking into the earth as if swallowed by quicksand. Further south lies the Dashti Lut, a completely lifeless void that holds the record for one of the hottest land surface temperatures ever measured on Earth. Reaching temperatures exceeding 159 degrees Fahrenheit, operating complex military hardware in this oven degrades equipment and breaks the human body. And here lies the ultimate strategic dilemma. An invading army marches on its stomach, and an armored division drinks thousands of gallons of fuel an hour. To sustain a push toward Tehran, the United States would have to drag a vulnerable logistical tail hundreds of miles through these mountains and deserts. A tail endlessly exposed to guerrilla ambushes, drone strikes, and artillery barrages by IRGC units blending perfectly into their homeland. Then one must confront the terrifying sheer scale of the Iranian landmass, the tyranny of distance. Iran is absolutely massive. It is larger than France, Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, Spain, and Portugal combined. It is nearly 3 times the physical size of Iraq, with more than double the population, spread across infinitely more hostile terrain. During the 2003 invasion of Iraq, the U.S. and its allies deployed over 300,000 troops to secure a much smaller, flatter country. To pacify and occupy Iran, military strategists estimate a requirement of well over 1 million soldiers. A troop mobilization of that staggering magnitude has not been executed by the United States since the Second World War. And the geographic nightmares do not end in the west or the center of the country. To the north, the Alborz mountain range forms a towering, icy barricade, cutting off easy access from the Caspian Sea. To the south, the treacherous, shallow waters of the Persian Gulf and the narrow Strait of Hormuz. A maritime chokepoint heavily mined and swarming with IRGC fast attack craft, creating a lethal anti-access area denial zone. In short, there is no easy backdoor into Iran. Every approach is a heavily fortified fatal funnel. But geography is passive. It only becomes a deadly weapon when paired with a ruthless, calculated military doctrine. The Revolutionary Guards harbor no illusions. They know they cannot defeat the United States Air Force in an open sky. They fully expect American B-2 stealth bombers and cruise missiles to dismantle their surface infrastructure within the first 48 hours of a conflict. So they took their most critical military assets, their command centers, their drone factories, and their ballistic missiles. And they buried them deep beneath the bedrock of the earth. Over decades, at immense cost, Iran has constructed an elaborate, highly classified network of subterranean bases. These are not mere bunkers. They are sprawling, interconnected underground missile cities, carved hundreds of meters deep inside the impenetrable granite of the Zagros and Alborz mountains. They are largely immune to satellite surveillance and heavily protected against even the most advanced American bunker-buster munitions. From these hidden depths, Iranian commanders can coordinate devastating retaliatory strikes across the entire Middle East. They are preparing for a war that will not be fought on the surface, but from the terrifying shadows of the earth. In recent years, declassified intelligence and unprecedented events, like the massive April 2024 drone and missile strikes, have exposed the true scale of this subterranean arsenal. Iran's aerospace forces have mass-produced thousands of low-cost, highly lethal loitering munitions, most notably the infamous Shahd series drones. When a nation cannot afford a fleet of $100 million stealth fighters, it builds 10,000 kamikaze drones for the exact same price. These autonomous swarms are mathematically designed to overwhelm advanced Western air defense systems through sheer, overwhelming volume. Alongside these drones sits an arsenal of precision-guided ballistic missiles, including the recently unveiled FATA hypersonic glide vehicles. But defending the rocky homeland is only one half of the Revolutionary Guard's terrifying, asymmetric equation. The other half relies on economic mutually assured destruction, centered on a narrow 21-mile stretch of water. The Strait of Hormuz. Through this single, fragile artery flows nearly 20% of the world's daily oil consumption. In the event of an American invasion, Iran's strategy is brutally simple: close the strait, spike global energy prices, and crash the world economy. They would deploy thousands of smart naval mines, while anti-ship cruise missiles fire from camouflaged launchers seamlessly blended into the jagged coastline. Yet even if the U.S. Navy miraculously clears the Gulf, and the Air Force suppresses the missile sites, the ground war must still be fought. And Iran's first line of defense actually lies hundreds of miles outside its own sovereign borders. This is the axis of resistance, a sprawling, transnational network of heavily armed proxy militias, funded and trained by the Quds Force. By weaponizing these proxy armies, Tehran ensures that any American strike on Iranian soil instantly ignites the entire Middle East in a ring of fire. U.S. bases across the region would immediately face synchronized rocket barrages, forcing the Pentagon into a bleeding, multi-front war of attrition. But what happens when the U.S. military finally crosses the Iranian border, pushing its armor into the foothills of the Zagros? They will meet the Basij, a massive paramilitary volunteer militia woven directly into the daily fabric of Iranian society. The IRGC has trained millions of these irregular fighters to operate entirely independently in decentralized, autonomous cells. If command communications are severed by American electronic warfare, these local cells are pre-authorized to wage a relentless, chaotic guerrilla campaign. Now, imagine the horrifying reality for an American armored platoon tasked with securing a treacherous mountain pass. The Apache gunships they usually rely on are grounded by an unexpected dust storm, or kept at bay by hidden shoulder-fired missiles. The GPS signals guiding their precise movements are suddenly jammed, plunging their digital maps into chaotic darkness. Inside the steel hull of a Bradley fighting vehicle, 20-year-old soldiers grip their rifles, sweating in the oppressive 100-degree heat. The convoy creeps up a steep, winding switchback, the brittle dirt road barely wide enough for the heavy treads. Towering rock walls loom on either side. There is absolutely nowhere to turn around, nowhere to run. They are in the fatal funnel. The dead silence of the desolate valley is suddenly, violently shattered by the deafening crack of an improvised explosive device. The lead mine roller is instantly crippled, a massive fireball throwing 30 tons of steel upward, blocking the only path forward. Simultaneously, the trailing rear vehicle is struck by a laser-guided anti-tank missile, fired from a concealed cave 2 miles away. The convoy is now completely boxed in. The trap has snapped shut. From the jagged ridges above, a relentless, plunging torrent of mortar fire and heavy machine gun rounds begins to rain down on the paralyzed Americans. Desperate American infantrymen dismount from the burning strikers, seeking cover against the jagged rock walls. But there is no cover. They are caught in a perfectly calculated enfilade, a crossfire designed to annihilate. A frantic platoon leader screams into his radio, calling for immediate close air support and medical evacuation. But the radio only returns the dead hiss of intense, localized electronic jamming. They are completely cut off. And then the IRGC unleashes the true horror of modern asymmetric warfare. A sound like a swarm of angry hornets fills the gorge. Not million-dollar jets, but $2,000 commercial drones strapped with armor-piercing warheads. The canyon walls mask the incoming swarm from American radar. The multi-million-dollar anti-air systems are completely blind. The drones execute top-attack profiles, plunging directly onto the thin roof armor of the paralyzed Abrams tanks. A catastrophic ammunition cook-off follows. A 70-ton war machine is reduced to a burning tomb in seconds. The surviving soldiers realize they are not fighting an enemy they can see. The operators are 5 miles away, deep inside a cave, holding joysticks. There is no glorious final charge here, just a slow, grinding, mechanical slaughter. A triumph of geography and gravity over technology. And the most chilling realization for the Pentagon strategists. This single, devastating ambush was just one mountain pass. Between the Iraqi border and the capital city of Tehran, there are hundreds of these valleys. Every single one is a pre-sighted kill zone. To push a ground force through this meat grinder would require a tolerance for casualties the American public has not possessed since Vietnam. The Iranian strategy is not designed to win the battle in the traditional sense. It is designed to make the cost of winning entirely unbearable. It is a strategy of bleeding the superpower. 1,000 cuts delivered by ghosts hiding in the bedrock of the earth. Back in the darkened war rooms of Washington, the simulation screens flash red. The war game is terminated. The cold, inescapable math proves that the Islamic Republic of Iran cannot be conquered by land. It is a fortress that has stood for millennia, swallowing empires from the Romans to the Ottomans. To send a mechanized army into the Zagros is to invite the total decimation of the American military machine. The geography is a weapon. The mountains are the anvil, and the asymmetric drones are the hammer. And this is the exact terrifying reality that keeps American presidents awake at night. Because if the ground war is an impossible suicide mission, then how does a superpower neutralize a threat that is deeply buried, fiercely defended, and entirely unreachable? But the Pentagon knows the burning convoys in the Zagros are merely a distraction, a bloody smokescreen. While the world's eyes are locked on the mountains, the true, catastrophic blow is being prepared in the south. In the shallow, claustrophobic waters of the Strait of Hormuz, a silent fleet of midget submarines and 1,000-pound sea mines is moving into position. They are not waiting to bleed an army. They are preparing to sever the jugular vein of the global economy. The mountains will break the soldiers, but the sea will break the world.